We're going to walk through how to build a psychological safe environment within your first 20 days. Because creating this environment doesn't just happen. I wish it did, but it doesn't happen. And I think for me, when I was a student, I did not really have a safe place at school. I felt like my ideas weren't allowed to be shared until I went to the Google Innovator Academy. When I went to the Google Innovator Academy, I started to realize that my voice does matter. And it was because of this environment that I was in. And so I started to take some of these practices that I learned from Google and apply them within my own school district to create that safe space where teachers could tell me what is really going wrong. And when we got to that place, we started to be able to transform learning because we were able to deal with the root cause rather than those surface area, maybe comments or questions that were given. It really did start to help when we were able to review what made this safe space. So, here are some different activities. You can do them in order, or if you wanted to or needed to, you could probably move them around as well. This first one is Battle Brackets, and this is by Monica Gentile. So I sent here the Teachers Pay Teachers link, but what I love about these is you can kind of see from the preview that students will have two options. And then based on those two options, they vote for which one they want to do. And it just starts to hear from every student in that low cognitive area where students are deciding if they prefer um, maybe fruit, and it might be like blueberries versus strawberries. And students are just quickly making a decision, and you can have them justify their reason as well. And you're able to quickly hear from every single student's voice at the start of that class. So, again, I really like to kind of print these out or put them up on the board, give students some think time as they're coming into the classroom, and then we're able to discuss. She also does provide these discussion questions as well. Then we're getting into personality tests. So personality tests or temperament tests are a great way to kind of get to know your students. This True Colors test was adapted by Stephanie Rothstein, and it has been amazing the way that I have improved on just understanding people and the understanding of how different people are. And so, what I usually do is have students take the test. After they take the test, they're able to walk through this presentation, and then we might do some group work. And so, again, it allows me to get to know my students, who they are. And if you go to Can We Talk EDU, Stephanie Rothstein has all of these resources on her website as well that kind of talks about giving feedback too. And she provides an amazing video that I highly suggest you watch. But right here, you're able to see a quick overview of the video on how we give feedback and personalize it to each of our different colors and each of those different personality tests. And then when it comes to temperaments, it's very similar, but what I like about temperaments is there's four innate needs. But if you're just starting off, I would just pick one or the other. Because once you kind of get going into personalities tests, you can dive deeper with Enneagrams in the 16 personalities. And so right here, you can kind of see um, that you're able to learn about the temperaments. There's a video, and then you're also able to set up this test. But basically, when it comes to temperaments, every color has a temperament. And so there's four innate needs that we all have. And within those innate needs, if we're not building people up with those innate needs or really catering to those innate needs, we start to see people perform in their weaknesses. And so I think that's really important when we're creating these environments is knowing those needs and then being able to help your students as well. And then day 4 kind of focuses on a design challenge. So what students will do is they will brainstorm 4 ideas based on um, a problem. So you'll think of like a problem in the world. Students will brainstorm 4 different solutions to that problem, and then they'll pitch their idea. And so you could start with a pitch where it is maybe partner work. You could go with a pitch that is whole group. You could just pick a few kids that want to share. So that is another way to kind of build up and sharing their ideas and like showing that you agree. And really, there's no idea that could be completely wrong. Day 5, what I started to realize as well is when we don't have these safe spaces, students are afraid to make predictions. And so this is just a way for students to make a prediction when within their class. And so, for example, here they do word 1, word 2, word 3, word 4, word 5 that is picked out for a topic that you're about to teach, or words from a book or an article that students are about to read. And based on those words, students try to make a prediction about what the story or what the activity is going to be about. And then again, just getting students to make a prediction about a certain concept and reminding them again that they cannot be wrong, which I think is huge because a lot of times students are afraid to make that prediction, but really you cannot be wrong. And then going into the 5 whys. So when we're talking about the 5 whys, we're kind of asking clarifying questions. Students are brainstorming answers. They're reviewing one why question. They're discussing answers and they're thinking about those questions as well. And then they're responding and recapping their group responses. So, just again, getting students to go through this process, and there's time stamps also allotted for you where they are starting to think about why are we doing this and kind of repeating that why. And again, encouraging them that there's no wrong reason to their ideas. This next idea was shared on this podcast, so this Teacher Life, and it's called the Connection Game, and it is really the best activity ever. I did this during summer school, and what happens, real quick, but I would highly suggest you listen to this episode, is students will have 5 index cards, and they write down what they love. After they write down what they love, they then place them in order, and then the student goes out into the hallway before the group, like the class, puts it in order. And then they come back in and then they actually put it in the correct order. And we just kind of play a quick game, but it's a great way to get to know your students. Another idea is having this crazy eights and using like those how might we statements. So asking students maybe, how might we create this safe space in our classroom? And students are able to jot down those 8 different ideas of how they can incorporate this in their classroom. Another idea is maybe they think of something that has already failed and they think about what would they do. So this project has already failed. What do we do? How do we kind of overcome it? And so kind of role playing that scenario and helping students see and having them have that growth mindset to be able to move further. And then providing clarity. So providing our students clarity is huge. And one way we can do that is with this Wonder Wall. So kind of having students answer these 3 questions. What are we learning? Why are we learning it? And when will we know that we've learned it? And then they're able to respond Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday on that answer of what are we learning? Why are we learning it? And when, and then how they're going to be doing it. I've also seen teachers break this down into minutes to where it's like the first 5 minutes, the second 10 minutes, the next 15, the next 15, and breaking their class up that way. So this would be like a daily Wonderwall, or you could do it kind of that weekly way as well. I've also used this during professional learning, and it does help like the students and the teachers know what is happening and what is happening next. And then on day 12, tuning. Tuning is another great way for students to give feedback. And so, again, when we're creating that safe space, we really want students to be able to give really great feedback. And so, when they're presenting their project, we want them to present with no questions or no comments. During that time, students are writing down what they like and what they wonder. After the students present, the presenters are not allowed to speak, and the panel or the group is going to give feedback, what they liked and what they wondered. After that, the students are going to reflect and they're going to think about what feedback will they use and maybe not use. So, based on what they think and using that information. Another activity I love is design thinking. So, when we're thinking about design thinking, you might ask your students how to set up that learning space. And this video walks through this different activity, but using again those crazy eights, using feedback, what worked, ideas, changes, new questions, and having students really think about what should be included when we're thinking about that user. And then this is another great activity that was found on Twitter by Miss Park Shine. And so right here, students do that think, pair, and then synthesize, where they do their first thoughts, their new ideas after discussion, and then they're able to synthesize their ideas together and really do that think, pair, share activity where they are just kind of first, here's what I think, and then thinking about their new thoughts after that discussion, and then they're going to come back together and synthesize. And I love that she provides starter sentences as well. Honest scales can be a great way too to hear how your students are doing as well. So right here is a Google form that you're able to make a copy of, and you can replace these images. If you just search Google for honest scale, a ton of different options will pop up. But for this one, it is on the otter. So what happens is students would decide which otter, and then you're able to have a quick classroom discussion about why they might be feeling that way. And that can sometimes create safety as well when you follow up with students and you really see maybe they have a doctor's appointment and you're able to follow up after that doctor's appointment. It allows them to feel seen, heard, and they're able to trust you a little bit more. Silent or explaining your thinking. So here it's a silent debate activity, and what students do is they're sentence starters to kind of help them think about how to expand their thinking. So maybe they have a different way of looking at it, or maybe they thought that as well because, and again, students are able to either do this digitally on here, where they might have claim, evidence, and reasoning, or what students might do is they might go and have actual post-it notes and do this around your classroom. So just a few different ways for students to begin to create their voice and sharing by that processing time as well, where they're able to pause, stop and think, and then share. And then discussion diamonds is also a great activity. And on this activity, what students do is they receive some type of information, and it's typically jigsawed. Once they get that information, they will then think first, and then they share with their group and they come up with a group consensus. So everything is kind of broken down here into steps, but that is the main idea of how to do a classroom discussion with using discussion diamonds. Air analysis is another great way. So getting students after they maybe take like a exit ticket or a summative assessment where they go back and they review their errors. And so right here, students will go in and they will see what errors they made and what corrections they need to make. And they will complete this form in order to kind of, again, think about what they missed, why they missed it, and then they're going to re-answer with the correct answer. So it's allowing them to review their questions and thinking about what can I do to improve this answer. This is another fun activity that you could use from the um, chart. And what happens is that students have right here connect, extend, and question. So they will then write a new idea. They're going to write how their ideas and information connected with what they already know. And then they're going to have questions and challenging that is kind of occurring in their mind. Once they have these three things, they can then summarize their new learning right there. And there's a couple different things. There's census here as well, and a few other templates that you're able to use. There's that 5 whys if you like this example. But there are so many different ways that you can kind of allow your students to have these like different thinking canvases where they're able to really think about what is happening and what's taking place. But again, the one that I really like for this one is that connect, extend, and question. And then on the final day, you could do something like FedEx Day. FedEx Day is a great day, and there's another video that kind of explains FedEx Day. But what happens when it comes to FedEx Day is that students break things, try stuff, and fail. So they have to come up with some type of problem in the world, and then they create a solution to fix that problem. And so students will walk through the design thinking process to create this mindset and to create their product. And then they will share at the very end. And we just did like delivery routes. So it was kind of like a gallery walk when we shared. So those, again, are just some ways that you're able to create those 20 days of building a safe environment in your classroom. And again, it does take time and it does take students to try and make a prediction and share their voice and then uplifting them even if they are wrong. So again, that's the first 20 days of building a psychological safe environment.